The creators of From just did something they almost never do. They sat down on Reddit, opened the floor to the fandom, and started answering questions. Point blank. No deflection, no vague non-answers, no, you'll have to watch and see. And what came out of that conversation has permanently changed how I think about this show. Because they just confirmed that Eloise is dead, that Julie was never changing the past, she was always in it, that every single symbol on those talismans is a real, decipherable clue to the entire mythology of the series. And that most of the answers to the biggest mysteries in From were sitting in the very first episode all along, hiding in plain sight while we spent 4 seasons looking everywhere else. We need to talk about all of it, because Season 5 is coming, it's the final season, and for the first time since this show began, the people making it are actually telling us what's real and what was never there. And some of those answers are going to sting. Let's start with the thing everyone wants to know first, which is how long we actually have to wait. The gap between Season 3 and Season 4 was brutal, nearly 2 full years of sitting with questions that had no answers. This time around, every sign points to a significantly shorter runway. The creators have confirmed that cameras are expected to start rolling as early as this July, which lines up almost exactly with when Season 4 began production. Season 4 started shooting around June and July of last year and premiered the following April. If the same timeline holds, we are looking at a premiere window somewhere between June and August of next year. 10 episodes, final season, and then that's it. The show ends. But before we get there, we have to process what the creators just confirmed. And we have to start with the one that's going to genuinely upset a large portion of this fanbase. Eloise is dead. Let me give you the context first, because this theory had real legs and deserved to. In Season 4, we finally saw the grave Victor dug, the one for both Miranda and Eloise. The first time we had ever seen it directly on screen. But here's the thing that kept the theory alive. They never showed us Eloise's body. The only body Victor actually finds, the one he keeps returning to in his flashbacks, is his mother. Eloise's grave was there, but Eloise herself was never shown inside it. The fandom, naturally, did what this fandom does. We built an entire framework around that absence. Maybe it's symbolic. Maybe the grave is a memorial, but not a burial. Maybe Eloise is still out there somewhere in the town's looks, connected to the mystery in ways the show hasn't revealed yet. The creators put all of that to rest. Not gently, not with room for interpretation. Griffin and Jeff Pinkner confirmed it directly. And then the official MGM account followed up with 4 words. Eloise is dead. It doesn't get more final than the network's own account spelling it out. One of the producers made a point during the AMA that I keep thinking about. He talked about how with mystery box shows, audiences tend to invent mysteries that were never actually there. We do it constantly with From. We build elaborate theories around an absence, around a scene that didn't show something, around a line of dialogue that could be read 2 ways. And sometimes the answer is just simple. She's dead. There's no hidden layer. The show didn't bury a secret inside that grave. The grave is just a grave. But here's where I push back slightly, because dead in the world of From is not the same as gone. This is a show about reincarnated souls, about people returning across cycles, about identities that outlast the bodies carrying them. Confirmed dead does not necessarily mean her soul isn't walking around somewhere in this story, wearing a different face. Except, and this is the complication the creators introduced immediately after, they heavily implied during the AMA that only specific souls are locked into the reincarnation loop. Tabitha, Jade, Miranda, Victor, those 4. Everybody else probably not part of it. And that is where the logic starts breaking down for me. Because if we follow that framework to its conclusion, it raises questions the show is going to have to answer. If Victor is a reincarnated soul, who is he the reincarnation of? Reincarnation in any traditional framework kicks in when the previous vessel dies. So how does that work when the mother and the reincarnated soul are alive at the same time? And how does one of Tabitha's children get pulled into the soul loop while the other one doesn't? Why Ethan and not Eloise? The logic has gaps wide enough to drive the RV through. Which is why I'm not fully closing that door. Keep your reincarnation theories in a drawer, because Season 5 may open it back up in ways we don't expect. Now let's talk about Julie, because the line the creators dropped about her is the one that has been living rent-free in my head since the AMA ended. They confirmed she's coming back stronger in Season 5. They confirmed her story-walking ability is finally getting a concrete, actual explanation. Not hints, not implication, a real answer about how it works. And they promised that her role in the final season is going to feel much more purposeful than how Season 4 used her, which was, to be honest, a frustrating waste of one of the most interesting abilities in the show. But none of that is what broke my brain. This is the line. Julie never changed the past. She was always in it. Read that one more time and really sit with it. She was always in it, not going back, not visiting, not influencing events from outside the timeline. She was already there. She has always been there. Those moments in the past that Julie witnessed through her story walking, those weren't observations. They weren't a power she was projecting backward. She was a participant. She was part of those events before she ever knew she had the ability. What does that actually mean? There are a few ways to interpret it, and all of them are destabilizing. Does it mean Julie belongs to a different timeline entirely? That the version of her we've been following with the Matthews family is not where she originally comes from? Is she someone from the past who ended up in the present through a mechanism the show hasn't explained yet? Or does it mean something even more fundamental? That the past events she witnessed were always going to include her presence? That the timeline is closed? That nothing she does in her story walking has ever been a variable? The heartbreaking practical implication of that last reading is about her father. Julie has been chasing the idea, consciously or not, that her power could give her a way to save Jim, to go back to the moment he died and change something. But if she was always in the past and never changed it, then she can never save him. She can go back to that moment, she can watch it happen, and she cannot stop it. The event already includes her presence and her failure to intervene, because it always did. She is locked into the history of this place in a way that might be the most tragic revelation the show has delivered yet. Here's something else the creators said that reframes the entire series if you let it. They stated clearly that most of the answers to Fromm's biggest mysteries are hidden inside the very first episode. The pilot, Season 1, Episode 1. The clues to the questions we have been obsessing over for 4 seasons were sitting there from the beginning, visible to anyone paying close enough attention, and most of us looked right past them. They have danced around this before, but now they are saying it as a hard fact. Which means the final season is almost certainly going to loop us back to that first episode in a significant way. Expect callbacks that recontextualize things you thought you already understood. Expect scenes that reshoot or revisit moments from the pilot to show you what was happening in the background that the camera never quite pointed at. The moment Tabitha and Jim first drove into that town, whatever was happening around them that they couldn't see, Season 5 might finally show us the other side of that arrival. The creators also confirmed something about the man in yellow that sounds simple but actually opens up a lot of questions. He was already there when the Matthews family arrived, not in some abstract eternal sense, physically there, present, walking among the residents as a regular person before anyone new showed up. The Clara situation and Sophia's revelation that she had already met him and made a deal confirm this in retrospect. But what it means for the mythology is that his role in this town predates our story by an indeterminate amount of time. He's not a reactive force. He is part of the infrastructure. He's been running his game on whatever group of people was trapped there long before any of our characters came through. Now let's get into the environmental details the creators addressed, because these are the things that hardcore fans have been picking apart since Season 1, and it turns out some of them were pointing somewhere specific all along. The fallen trees. You know, the tree that blocks the road and forces cars into the nightmare loop? The creators confirmed that every single time we saw a tree blocking that road throughout the series, it was a different tree. Not the same one, a different tree each time. On its own, that might seem like a continuity note, but think about what it actually means. Some force in this town is generating those obstacles. It's not a single tree that fell once. It is an active, ongoing mechanism producing barriers specifically designed to catch new arrivals and pull them in. The entity running Fromville is not passive. It is operational. It is selecting and targeting people in ways the show has never fully made explicit. The Talismans. This is the one I find most exciting going into the final season. The creators confirmed that every symbol carved into those talismans is a legitimate, decipherable clue to the full mythology of the show. Not decoration, not flavor. Actual information encoded in the carving that explains what the talismans are, where they came from, and what the fundamental rules of this place actually are. The read they offered is that at their core, the talismans are about sacrifice. That Tabitha, in some original version of herself, during a massive sacrificial moment, stepped in and locked that protection into physical form. Which means the talismans are not just protective objects, they are a record. They are a document written in symbols that tells the entire story of how this nightmare began, if you know how to read it. The season finale already stripped the talismans out of the town completely. Sophia walked building to building and took every single one, which means Season 5 picks up in a Fromville with no protection, no bottle tree, and residents who are completely exposed. Understanding what the talismans actually mean and whether they can be rebuilt or replaced is probably going to be one of the central questions of the final season. The creators also promised that 3 specific mysteries are getting fully resolved before the show ends, and they named them directly. The spider is getting explained. The motel, the signs that are there, the pool that exists but the actual building that doesn't, that geographic impossibility is getting a real answer. And the monsters themselves are getting their full origin story. We know the broad strokes already. They are parents who sacrificed their children and were transformed by the bargain. But Fatima's transformation in the finale demonstrated that the town can create new monsters in new cycles, and the show is promising to go much deeper into the mechanics of how that process works, what these creatures actually are at their core, and what they are still capable of doing. On the question of spin-offs, the silence from the network is itself information. Any other show of this size, at this stage of its run, would already have trade articles floating about potential extensions. There's nothing. No whispers, no development announcements, no exploring opportunities in the world of From. That absence strongly suggests the show is genuinely ending, rather than being extended in another form. If anything comes after, the best guess would be a prequel, something set in the past, maybe exploring an earlier cycle, maybe giving us the origin of Smiley or some other creature. But the main story, the one about these specific people and this specific trap, appears to be heading toward a definitive close. And that's actually what this fandom needs to hear, even if it's bittersweet. Because From has always been the kind of show that felt like it could run forever, on mystery and misdirection. The confirmation that the final season is built to deliver real answers about the spider, the motel, the monsters, Julie's timeline, the symbols on the talismans, and whatever is hiding inside that first episode, is the show making a promise to the people who have stayed with it through every agonizing wait and every unanswered question. The only thing left now is whether they can keep it. So here's what I want from you in the comments. What do you think that line about Julie actually means? That she was always in the past and never changed it? Is that liberation or a trap? And do you think the symbols on the talismans are something the characters inside the show are ever going to figure out how to read? Or is that information strictly for the audience? Drop everything below, because we have a long wait ahead of us. And this is exactly the kind of thing we need to be pulling apart together until Season 5 arrives.